Hello, this is APC. As the title suggests, this video is going to be about the alleged involvement, interference, collusion, and/or ties between Russia and President Trump during the campaign and up until today. I'd like to clarify the issue for as many people as possible by presenting objectively true evidence and events in order for you to come to your own conclusion. So with that, why don't we get started?
Девочки, девчонки, вы не уставайте, ручки все подняли, хлопайте, давайте.
On Wednesday, May 17th, House Democrats held a conference hearing making their stance clear. They wished to impeach the President of the United States on the grounds of him being beholden to Russian influences that not only got him elected, but continue to influence and control him. They are trying to do this by forcing a discharge petition, which could lead to an independent commission being assigned to investigate the issue and possibly lead to the impeachment of Donald Trump. As of this recording, only 2 Republican representatives have signed the petition, and it would overall require 218 of the 435 representatives to pass.
Think about this. The president fired the director of the FBI because he was becoming increasingly engaged over the accelerating investigation into his campaign and his ties to Russia.
I just signed the discharge petition on the floor, and I did it because the cost of these events has become too much for the people that we represent. What is the cost? What is the cost of the president's alleged ties to Russia? What is the cost of the president's alleged obstruction into the investigations that are taking place? It is not disputed by anyone but the president that Russia attacked our democracy. They violated our sovereignty. It was an attack ordered by President Putin. It was multifaceted. They had a preferred candidate in mind who they sought to help, and they didn't do it because they were bored. They didn't do it because they were testing software. They did it because they wanted something out of it. They wanted sanctions lifted. They saw a candidate who admired their president, and they wanted to reduce the role of NATO.
As you can see, the stance that House Democrats have taken is the belief, without a doubt, that Putin himself orchestrated, quote, an attack on our democracy. Chairman Crowley fails to mention what exactly he is referring to, and this is all under the pretense that what happened was in fact true. I'll get to this and elaborate after the conference clips.
And most recently, his suspicious firing of Comey, after the director of the FBI requested more resources to investigate the Trump-Russia ties. Now, we're learning he shared valuable classified information with the Russian foreign minister. If what's being reported about Mr. Comey's memo is true, then it would seem like there has been some sort of obstruction of justice.
This short statement alone could warrant a whole video, but I'll try and keep it short. The firing of Comey is not suspicious. The FBI is an executive organization, meaning its management is ultimately at the discretion of the president. The Attorney General issued a recommendation to fire Comey for various reasons that I'll explain later in this video. Secondly, this valuable classified information he's referring to is the remark made between Trump and Russian foreign officials in the White House and is completely insignificant. The information specifically refers to ISIS and their growing capabilities to be able to create bombs out of electronic batteries such as in laptops, something reported on CNN as early as April of this year. Regardless of the fact that this information is not classified, the president holds the authority to declassify information as he pleases.
The president and the Republicans in the House and the Senate promised to make big changes for America and improve the lives of average Americans. We have yet to see that happen in these first 120 days. And our hope is that we can get back towards an agenda that uplifts the lives of all Americans. We're not here today at this press conference because of our behavior. This is because of the behavior of the president that we're here speaking about these issues today. We're here because of what we know from our intelligence gathering community, that the Russian government was involved in trying to undermine the elections of the United States, and they're attempting to do that around the world, including in France and elsewhere. And as Mr. Shifter said, they're not done yet. They intend to do it again. What can we learn from this attempt, and how can we prevent it in the future is why we must move towards an independent commission.
we have to have the mechanisms to gather the facts. And they have to be credible, and they have to be robust, they have to be transparent. And so what we're talking about is gathering the facts. But there's something missing here that is very unusual, and I'm sure the lawyers up here will tell you. Normally, when there is an investigation, you don't have the subject of the investigation talking negatively about the investigator or doing anything that might even give a possible appearance of trying to sway anybody. What usually happens, and I've represented a lot of clients, is we say we are going to work with the authorities, we're going to cooperate. We may say something like, the person is not guilty or something of that nature. But here, what we've had is this constant drumbeat of negative comments and tweets coming out of the White House. What I've said over and over again is I would appreciate it, and I think the FBI and others would appreciate it, if the president would let our justice system do what it is constructed to do.
There's plenty more to this conference, and you're welcome to watch the rest of it yourself. I just wanted to accurately show the current political climate in Washington. Now I'd like to go back about 10 months to the summer of 2016 during the election, back when Russia was first mentioned. Therein lies the truth. One piece of evidence forming the foundation for everything going on today about Russian involvement is the conclusion that was made over who leaked information about the Democratic National Committee. It is widely accepted and reported by mainstream media that a Russian intelligence entity was behind the 44,000 plus emails and attachments being given to WikiLeaks that would suggest Hillary Clinton stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders and that the DNC was complicit.
But I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th and Russian WikiLeaks, the Russian theft of John Podesta's emails hit WikiLeaks.
This leak was published on July 22nd, 2016. The narrative continues, and it is reported that the same Russian intelligence was also behind the Podesta and Weiner email leaks in the later months. This is the single most plausible example of Russian interference during the election, and since it targets Clinton and the DNC, it is thought to be a pro-Trump operation. This is what Chairman Crowley characterized as an attack on our democracy, and since it's officially accepted by the intelligence committees and the FBI, it is the only significant proof of Russian involvement. I believe, however, that the DNC was leaked by an insider, someone who had physical access to the information, and that this was not part of what would otherwise be an incredibly targeted and coordinated foreign hacking debacle in order to swing an election. So then, the question becomes, who did it? The most likely source of the leak is Seth Rich. Seth Rich worked for the DNC as a data director during the campaign and easily had access to information not unlike that which was leaked. Seth Rich was murdered on July 10, 2016, early in the morning in Washington, D.C. The official police report states he was beaten, bruised, and shot 3 times in the back in what was called a botched robbery, despite him still having all of his valuables such as his wallet, keys, watch, and phone. This happened only 4 days before the WikiLeaks DNC publications. And it's also strongly implicated that Seth Rich did work with WikiLeaks.
As a 27-year-old, works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion? about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States.
The juxtaposition of the timing of Seth Rich's mysterious death, his occupation, his beliefs, and the circumstances of his murder should have warranted further investigation. While the intelligence committees and the FBI under Comey had no interest in the case of Seth Rich, there have been recent breakthroughs from the work of a third party. Rod Wheeler, a private investigator hired by Rich's family, has presented evidence to suggest that Seth was in fact in contact with WikiLeaks.
There was a federal investigator that was involved on the inside of the case, a person that's very credible. When you look at that with the totality of everything else that I found in this case, it's very consistent for a person with my experience to begin to think, well, perhaps there were some email communications between Seth and WikiLeaks. Every time I talk with the police department, though, Sean, every time I talk to the police department about the WikiLeaks or the emails, it's automatically shut down. That discussion is automatically shut down.
Well, so we don't know for sure if the FBI or if the D.C. police have any access to these forensics, these emails? Right.
We don't know. We actually have a statement from the FBI telling us to contact the D.C. police. The D.C. police says contact the FBI. Now, which is it? If this is just a murder investigation, first of all, why would the FBI be involved? The only reason the FBI would be involved, just so that the viewers understand, is if this has some degree of national exposure, meaning because maybe it is related to the DNC, and we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. It could have been a botched robbery. But my point is this, Sean, and I've been investigating murders for a while. You have to look at every possibility. You can't just look at one thing and say, well, that has to be it.
While there is speculation about connections between the mayor of Washington, D.C., the chief of police, the DNC, and Hillary Clinton herself, there exists compelling evidence pointing to Seth Rich, not the Russians, as being the source for WikiLeaks.
Guess what I learned yesterday from the family of Seth Rich? The police department did not call me back because someone, a high-ranking official at the DNC, check this out, a high-ranking official at the DNC, when I called the police department, they got that information and called the Rich family wanting to know why was I snooping around. The only thing that I have been able to confirm is that there were some problems that Seth was having on his job at the DNC right before he was killed. And the person, listen to this, the person that called the father after I called the police to get information, that's the person that Seth was having problems with at the DNC. So, you know, connect the dots here. It's starting to all come together. So, again, let me just really quickly say this. I don't know for sure. I don't know, as a matter of fact, if the emails went out to the WikiLeaks or anybody else, but it sure appears that way.
Nothing can be said with absolute certainty. That goes especially to this Russian hacking/election interference narrative that's being pushed as hard as it is. Seth Rich may just be the world's most convincing coincidence. Or the so-called fake news really is pushing fake news to the point of millions of Americans believing it for the sole reason of, hey, everybody else is talking about it. This has been APC. Thank you for watching.